there. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Foundations. Glad to have you with us this morning. It's another Friday morning opportunity for us to spend together to grow our faith, building our faith on the foundation that has been laid, and that foundation is Jesus Christ. So good morning and welcome to Foundations. Thankful to have you along with us, and hoping that you're having a fairly decent day. A little cloudy outside, but that's okay. Still kind of warm. Got some rain, which was needed in our area. Don't know about yours. Definitely needed in our area. We were pretty dried out. Had some things, not to go to the, feel like I'm going to the news all of a sudden, but we did have some effect, it seemed like, of some of the smoke coming out of Canada. The air was just kind of yucky, and so the rain has helped to clear that up as well. So thankful for that. I hope you're having a great Friday morning, or having a great morning whenever you're listening to this. If you're listening to it on the after, instead of listening to it on the live. And so make sure if you're listening to it after and you're not listening live that you still participate by answering the questions and giving us your comments down below. I go back and double check the comments from time to time just to make sure I'm able to get your offering as to what your opinion is. And so appreciate your helping out, participating, enjoying, fellowshipping. We live by one rule, especially at Gilead Ministries, and that is, as iron sharpens iron, so does one sharpen the countenance of another, or sharpen the well-being of another. And we'd love to do iron sharpens iron with you as well. And part of enjoying iron sharpens iron is a little bit of fun and a little bit of laughter, because those are key elements to us staying alive, right? If you don't like to laugh, I'm feeling sorry for you a lot. I got a feeling y'all like to laugh, though. So here we go. I want to get your thoughts today on this little item. Some of you may or may not know this. My friend Jack Brady talked me a few years ago into helping him out at the coroner's office. And I was just telling someone this past week as I was at a client's house that I served as a deputy coroner for about 7 years, and that it was one of the most fulfilling jobs I think I had ever had. And what I felt most fulfilling about the job was the opportunity to be a source of hope and encouragement for families who were dealing with the death of a loved one, and oftentimes in circumstances that were not so grand. It's never great to have a loved one die, but having a loved one die where the coroner is involved can be an added stress, and sometimes even an added life jolt, depending upon what has happened, because we investigated murders, we investigated accidental deaths in different settings, people dying on the job, people dying in surgery, just different things that we got to investigate. I say investigate, that sounds awful, but basically look into and explain and be the voice of the person who had died. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to minister to families there, because they were oftentimes at a low point, and I felt like God, for whatever reason, has wired me, I believe it's why I do what I do for a living, has wired me to interact with folks that are at the lowest points of their life, or at the most difficult struggles of their life, and be able to interact with them and actually have an opportunity to encourage them and to help them get through that particular difficult season. So, whew, that's a long explanation to get to this question. Whew, man, I'm tired already. What I like to do is I like to get kind of hung on a program. And one of the programs I've been hung on over my lifetime has been Law and Order. But recently what's happened is I have gotten hooked, almost addicted on NCIS. I have fallen in love with the program NCIS. I blame my daughter for this, by the way, but it was just a natural for me, because I've always enjoyed cop shows. I've always enjoyed something to do with investigating death. I guess that's why I felt even the opportunity to serve in the coroner's office was something I could do. But so I am binge watching NCIS currently. A couple episodes every night. That may not be binge watching in your world, but it is in mine, because I don't watch a lot of television except for a couple hours here and there throughout the process of the week. So needless to say, I am binging, and I'm already on season 19. And can you believe Gibbs has left NCIS? Oh man, I just realized I probably should have given a spoiler alert on that one, shouldn't I? So let me ask you this. Comment down below. What are you currently binge watching, or what would you like to be binge watching if you had the time? I've often thought to myself, I would like to binge watch all of the Star Wars movies or all the Lord of the Rings movies. to start on one day and not come out. Pull the curtains, get the popcorn, lay on the couch, and just watch all the way through those series, all the movies. Now, gosh, Lord of the Rings would take forever. Star Wars would definitely take a while as well, but the Lord of the Rings, especially the extended versions, holy smokes, you could be watching television for the rest of your life pretty much. So let me have you comment down below. Let me know, what would you, or what are you currently binge watching? So you've enjoyed all the episodes of Almost, and just comment down below. Let me know what you are binge watching or what you'd like to binge watch. Also, I'd like to plug a song real quick before I jump in. The link is going to be in the description below, so make sure you go and check it out. I believe it's a song that will encourage you. It's from a family group that I personally got to hear one time in person. Marvelous talents, but a fantastic message. So check out the song in the description below. Well, over the past few weeks, we've talked a lot about the gospel. We started the discussion about 8 weeks ago about the gospel, and how in the beginning we talked about what clutters up our ability to let others see the gospel in our lives. What gets in the way of allowing us to show who Jesus is, the reason why we even have the good news or the gospel. And it seemed apparent over the course of my time studying and preparing for those and then sharing that our religious activity seems to be one of the biggest blocks to our ability to live out what the good news means. Our stuff that we do, all our goodies, all our whatever, seems to get in the way of the good news of the forgiveness and peace of Jesus Christ. From our worship style to our condescending, judgmental attitudes. We've allowed peripheral issues that really, in all honesty, are just items of discussion compared to what the true gospel is. We have allowed those to overshadow the message of a man who lived, died, and rose from the dead to give every human being the opportunity for heaven and to bring hope through his life so that we can have life as well. And so through that message, he wanted to call everyone, and through us, he wanted to share that message. And unfortunately, we have caused all kinds of struggles because of our clutter. And as a result, we have caused more pain with the impact of our unwillingness to let the gospel shine through and only let our religious activity shine through. So here is a personal confession, and here's why I quit doing some of those things as my defense of who I am as a Christian. You see, some of the biggest mistakes I've made on my spiritual journey was thinking that the more classes I took and the more Bible I learned and the more scripture knowledge I attained, the better I was going to become at being spiritual. That the more worship and the better worship songs and, the hand raisings and the time of tears and all those things, I believe those things made me a better Christian. I believed if I became a better spiritual leader, I would be a better Christian. I believe that the more spirit that I had in my life, that I would be a better Christian. That the purer my doctrine became and the more I could actually discuss and explain my doctrine, the better Christian I would become. And the sharper my focus on discipleship and growing other believers, if I did that, I would be a better representative of Jesus Christ. And I could go on and on with a whole host and list of a number of things that I felt like made me a better Christian. Unfortunately, I felt like I had to have all those things in line, and then really give my heart to Christ, to be all sold out, as I heard from the pulpit many times throughout my life, that then and only then would I be a better Christian. But unfortunately, the longer I've lived, the more my world has collided with some thoughts that caused me to second guess these thoughts and actually to refocus my ministry. I've been in ministry for about 38 years, and I've been a Christian for 50 years. And I'm telling you, when I began to collide with these thoughts, it changed everything about me. Those who know me know I talk more about grace than anything else I ever talk about. That if I'm talking about a topic, it always comes back around to the reality that Jesus came to set us free. And so here's what some of the thoughts that I came in conflict with and I collided with that actually got my attention. The first one, and the most powerful one, I think, is this thought when Jesus said, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul?" Now, I don't believe I was going to lose my soul, but I wondered as I looked at that passage, how many souls were lost or didn't hear the gospel because I spent all my time trying to impress them with the knowledge I had attained or with the spiritual whatever I had gotten to, whatever level or whatever the word you want to call it. And then I realized that sometimes that my woohoo in being a Christian became a uh-oh when others needed to hear that Jesus loved them. Listen, I'm not against knowledge, and I continue to grow, but I'm just telling you that learning isn't going to make me a better representative of Jesus. Not at all. As a matter of fact, when I crossed up with this thought, that if I was worshiping and I realized that if you're at the altar with your sacrifice and you realize that someone has something against you, in other words, you know someone's angry or upset or hurt by you, that you need to walk away from your worship and go reconcile that situation. Because Jesus said that when you're messed up between you and the other people you're around, then you're not really in a place where you can approach God clearly. Now that was powerful. Another one was if you're praying and you realize you have unforgiveness in your heart, that you need to stop praying and work on the forgiveness factor before you continued your prayers. And only when you were willing to forgive the people you had something against were you going to find any amount of forgiveness yourself. Had nothing to do with knowledge, had nothing to do with worship or music. Had everything to do with the condition of the heart. When I saw how Jesus scolded the religious leaders for their unwillingness to really just be a representative and reflection of the God they served, and they were all hung up on a bunch of stuff they thought made them better than the people around them, and actually made them think that another people from another part of town were just a bunch of dogs. That's what they called Samaritans, the half-breeds. They called them dogs because they thought they were better. Good night, what a sad, sad comment. Some of you listening to me think you're better than people because of who they are, because of what they've done. You think you're better than they are. You think you've got more to go, and Jesus is more impressed with you. Well, wake up. It's not true. When it came down to brass tacks, I realized that the disciples, when they left and began to represent Jesus after he had left this earth, that people made one comment consistently. And that comment was they could tell they had been with Jesus. Now that's powerful. Paul, who was an educated man, wrote letters to refocus the churches that he had established. And was refocusing was that he addressed the way that they had gotten away from the gospel and began to become rule keepers again. And as a result, their focus had been lost, and they need to refocus on the grace of God. That's what every New Testament letter pretty much addresses. And over, I realized that I had forgotten that I didn't do anything that made Jesus redeem me. I had not impressed him in any way, and if anything, I was his enemy by Paul's admission and by the Holy Spirit's leading. And as a result, since I was an enemy of God, he still died for me regardless of what I was going to do, and he was willing to die for me while I was his enemy. That I had done nothing once I became a Christian to make myself more holy, that no matter how much I learned, no matter how many verses or old books or all the information I had done, and all those things can have their place, but none of that made me more holy. Might have made me more arrogant occasionally, but it never made me more holy. I realized apart from Jesus that I'm sunk. That there are intelligent religious people, that there are people who are knowledgeable, who have PhDs, who would blow me away in their level of knowledge, would blow those below me even farther away because of their knowledge. And yet, if they don't know Christ, they're going to hell. Because going to school doesn't take you to heaven. Being a disciple of some belief system or theology doesn't take you to heaven. And so listen, I can't, you can't, and no one can unless they start with the reality of their sinfulness. They will not begin to even see how to get to heaven. Apart from seeing our sin and being willing to admit that, so that Jesus can forgive us and give us his grace, and then through the work of the Holy Spirit make us what we need to become, which is what the term holy needs to be, set apart for Christ, sanctified, whatever terminology your theology comes up with. Unless you go that route and let Jesus do the work, you're sunk. You're not a better Christian. I'm sorry, you're not. You're a better religious person, you're a better Pharisee, but you're not a better Christian. Just because you do things, say things, and act certain ways, dance during service or sit quietly during service, raise your hands in worship or put them down, read the scriptures from one version or another. You've heard me talk about these over and over again. All of this garbage we get involved in is nothing but trash. Our righteousness is as filthy rags, is what Isaiah said. That's right. So Jesus is either the way or he's nothing. He doesn't leave any room for anything in between. I still desire to grow in my knowledge. I think it's fun to grow. But I got to be honest with you, that's just growth in things and knowledge. It's not growth in Jesus unless you recognize that he is the only answer for anyone you come in contact with, and impressing them with other answers may work for a while, but if you don't get them to Jesus, you haven't gotten them anyway. So that's why I must stop every time I run down that road and simplify my message to basically come down to the same message over and over again. Jesus is who he said he was. And he died on the cross, as it's been said. He rose from the dead, as was witnessed. And today he sits at the right-hand side of the Father, making intercession for a stupid little guy like I am, who keeps forgetting that, just like you do sometimes. And the reality is, I only have Jesus. That man on the cross next to him, that thief, he only had Jesus. That's how he got to heaven. Not through anything else. It's a good thing he didn't have to have what you and I have to get to heaven. Well, you and I don't need what we have apart from Jesus. Listen to me, dear friend or follower of Jesus Christ. You're toast apart from Jesus. So stop it. Just stop acting like you're somebody and realize that you only have one message. And that message is the message of Jesus Christ. That message is something that you can get creative in, that you can find different ways to share, and I applaud you in doing that. But once you walk away from the message of Jesus Christ, it is a message that leads people to good works, which leaves people short of the reality of Jesus, and it makes them think they could do something to get to heaven, and that's a lie. And if you're sharing it, you're lying. Simple as that. You may think I've been overemphasizing this point, but I don't believe you can overemphasize this point. You would be right if you thought I've probably spent a lot of time sharing this, and you may even feel like it's been too much time sharing. I don't believe it is. I believe that our Christianity today has slipped, that it began even like in the early days, we've slipped and we've fallen away from the things that really bring people to Christ, and we've fallen into a rut of rules and morals and elite groups where we hold each other in pride and allow ourselves to claim that we're somebody in a showdown of holiness because of the things that we say, do, and believe. When in reality is we're all beggars at the table, and apart from the Father and his Son and the work of the Holy Spirit, we will never get anywhere. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world, and my leadership is not like the world's leadership. You hear how they lord over and how they do those things. And he said, it will not be like that with you, because Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. So when we begin to act like this, when we set aside our own egotistical aspirations and some type of what we consider to be spiritual gianthood, then we can begin to be an influence for Jesus, which is what our world needs today. We, I understand, as a nation are in really bad spots right now. We're in a really bad situation. But our country has been in a really bad situation before. Other nations and governments have been in a bad situation before. The gospel thrived in the Roman culture, which hated Jesus, in the religious culture of the Jews, which crucified Jesus and continued to crucify and to hassle people and to persecute people like Paul did, even after Jesus' death. And I am telling you, the only thing that matters is not success. It is salvation. And after we talked about all that culture, I've spent the last few weeks trying to make a case that no amount of rule keeping, that there is no line you can cross to get into heaven, that you can't find a line in any religion anywhere that says once you cross that line, you're going to go into heaven. Even Christianity itself does not propagate that. Does not say you're in because you cross the line. No amount of church attendance, no amount of holy living, which really is just a false foundation, no amount of religious activity will get you a reservation in heaven. Today, as much as I can possibly share with you, you need to understand that although these things appeal to our flesh, they do not change our soul. I ask you today, to anyone who's listening, to examine your heart, to really take an inventory and see, do you need to refocus on the Savior? Do you need to refocus on Jesus? Let me ask you a few questions as I finish our time together this morning. Number one, has there ever been a time when you said that you would do something and then you didn't do it? You promised someone you would do something and you didn't do it. Has there ever been a time when you said, I won't ever do anything like that, and you found yourself doing something like that? Have you ever been a time when you would agree that the decisions you've made have been imperfect, that they were not the best decisions that you could make, and as a result they caused trouble for you or for someone else? Would you agree with me that God's standard is perfection, and that as a result of those things I just talked about, that you can recognize that you are not perfect? And that means basically that if you've made one wrong choice, that it is a roadblock to your perfection, then therefore a roadblock to you being in heaven. So if you can agree that you are not good at keeping your own standards, if you can agree to me that you failed yourself in the standards you've set up, then it's possible then that if God requires perfection, that you have broken God's standards. And because you have broken God's standards, you stand guilty before the God of the universe. You stand guilty of sin. And as a result of standing guilty of sin, you cannot work your way out. You can't do something that covers that up. It is on your record. And the only way that you can get rid of that is to do what I've been talking about. Let me ask you, in light of what God has already said, that if perfection is the standard, you've missed it, what's your chances of getting into heaven? Would you agree with me your chances are 0? Well, you can agree with me with that because it's true. You can also lie to yourself and tell me it's not true, and that's okay. Everybody can live where they want to live. Everybody can think what they want to think. That's what we're given as humans. But let me tell you something. That's what's so amazing about Jesus. For God so loved the world that he came as a human, that God gave his only Son, that whoever believes would be saved. Verse 17, John chapter 3. God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. That whoever believes in him will have eternal life. You see, if you're looking for the best and the most fair theology, the clearest definition of how to get to heaven, then you've come to the right place. Here's why. In Jesus, everybody is welcome. Everybody gets in the same way. And everybody can meet the requirements because Jesus paid the price and is willing to forgive you of all your sins and make you perfect before the Father. Whoever includes whoever is willing. Believing in Jesus is the only requirement. Believing means placing one's trust in the fact that Jesus is who he claimed to be, and his death accomplished what he said it accomplished. And so I invite you today as I close. I invite you today that if you've gotten away from that as a believer, that you refocus your life on that. And that if you've never trusted Christ as your Savior, that right now as I'm speaking, that you would just stop where you're at, that you would ask Jesus to forgive you of your sins, to make you who you're supposed to be through him, and then to walk with you from this point forward, that you're willing to follow him starting today, that you will do that. Just say, Jesus, I believe you are who you say. I ask for forgiveness. Help me to begin following you today. Amen. And if you're still not sure, I invite you, don't give up your investigation. Do not walk away from Christ. Continue to look and find things out about him. Your future depends on the answer of who Jesus is. Don't walk away. Keep watching right here. Keep talking to Christians even when they can't get it right. Stick around those who know Jesus. And maybe in the process, your investigation will come to a place where you can cross that little gap where you're willing to say, I trust, and realize there's no other place to go besides Jesus. I want to thank you for tuning in today. I want to thank you because it's important that we continue to share this gospel. And this is a place we do it, where we set the foundation of faith in Jesus Christ, and then we live our lives and follow him. All right, as I close today, here's the question for your comments down below. So what's on your binge list? Comment down below. What have you been binging? What would you like to binge? Just let me know in the comments down below, all right? Share Foundations with your friends and family if you think they would enjoy it. Let's come back and talk again each week. And let's spend some time together as iron sharpens iron. Don't forget the song in the comments down below. In the description down below. Hope you enjoy the song. Comment on it as well, all right? Come back next week and let's talk. And then we will begin to be a better follower of Jesus Christ, all right? Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for your time this morning. God bless you. May he give you a marvelous Friday, and may he give you an amazing weekend, all right? Y'all take care now.